Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. Today's webinar, Close the Year Strong, Legal, Financial, and Operational Reviews for 2025. My name is Joel Comerford. I am one of the legal and accounting business consultants over here at Lawpath, and thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We know this is one of the busiest times of the year, so we do appreciate you guys taking an hour out, or even if you can spend a little bit of time with us, that's sufficient enough. Anyone who does attend today's webinar will be receiving, you'll be receiving the email, the slides and everything else. So don't stress if you have to duck out soon. Now, while we are waiting for some more people to jump in, can I get a bit of an idea of where everyone's from? Do we have some Victorians here, some Queenslanders, some, I don't know what you'd, Perthanians? I don't know what you'd call everyone from everywhere. Hi there. Um, anyone from the NT or Tassie? I feel like I rarely speak to people from the NT and Tassie. It's always nice to get a scope. Sydney, Melbourne. We've got Nola. Pleasure. Nola, how do you guys say? How do you describe people from Perth? Western Australians. Like, is there a term you guys use? Anyone from Brisbane? Perts. Perts. Fair enough. Um, any anyone from South Brisbane, Logan, perhaps representing? Keep them coming, guys. Keep them coming. All right. So today's topic: close the year strong, legal, financial, and operational reviews 2025. So why does today's session matter for those attending? December is a deceptively risky month for businesses. As the year winds down and the team members go on leave, it's easy for compliance and obligations to be missed, legal disputes to emerge from outdated contracts, and cash flow to become unpredictable due to delayed invoices, payroll obligations, or unplanned expenses. But the real pain often shows up in January. So ATO deadlines hit hard. We have payroll resumes with limited cash buffers, and legal or employee issues that weren't fixed now becomes fires to put out. So the good news is fixing these risks in December is faster, cheaper, and far less stressful than scrambling to patch things up in the new year. This webinar is your opportunity to run a strategic year-end review and make sure your legal, financial, and operational foundations are solid before 2026 begins. Now, for those who are new to Lawpath, we are Australia's leading online legal and business platform. Over the last 11 years, verging on 11, we'll say 10 for now, but verging on 11, we've helped 600,000 plus businesses get set up, stay compliant, and grow, all through our subscription-based model, which gives you unlimited access to lawyers within Australia, accountants within Australia, and over 500 plus legal documents, and full compliance support for a fraction of the traditional cost. I should just mention that we are only Australian-based, so I have had people message me and say, will I be speaking to someone who's in another country? No, our entire team of lawyers and accountants are all based over here in Australia. We have most lawyers in most states as Lawpath employees, so if you want someone around the corner, a bit close to home that you can speak to in the lingo and, Perts, for example, that is definitely an availability for you. So unlike the old school pay per hour approach that most commercial lawyers and accountants are offering, our subscriptions provide you with no surprise bills, unlimited access to our specialists, and one platform to fit all your business needs. Click of a button, you have access to lawyer, legal, accounting, tax, whatever it may be. Now, let me ask everyone another quick question. You can answer this throughout if one of the slides that we're focusing on isn't necessarily pertaining to you, or you can go ahead and answer now. Have you reviewed your contracts and employee policies for 2025? Do you know if your business is fully compliant with ASIC and the ATO? Are you confident you've claimed all your allowable tax deductions this year? Have you planned for January's cash flow and payroll obligations? If you feel like it's something you want to share, put it in the chat. That's fine. You can make it a private message to me. Otherwise, you can just keep those questions as personal reminders to yourself. Have you reviewed your contracts and employee policies 2025? Do you know if your business is fully compliant with ASIC and the ATO? Are you confident you've claimed all your allowable tax deductions this year? And have you planned for your January cash flow and payroll obligations? If your answer is maybe or not yet for any of those, luckily you're in the right place because today's session is designed to help you. We'll tie off any loose ends before the holiday break, reduce risk exposure, and help you enter 2026 with confidence and control. Now, if you feel like anywhere within these questions you might require support or you just like some greater advice, if you're a newer business, go ahead and chuck yes in the chat. I'll be more than happy to take your details down. I'll get you a free legal and accounting consultation with some of our team members, hopefully this week or next week as well, and we can likely get you on the right track for 2026. Now, to introduce our two heavyweight speakers today, I always love a bit of a cross-pollination of legal and accounting. I'm sure you guys will as well. Everyone knows this gentleman, Pradi Hamid, one of our senior chartered accountants and tax strategists over here at Lawpath. He specializes in financial forecasting, BAS, year-end cleanup, and so much more. The slides will have all the details for our speakers as well. So if you want a bit more of a bio and dossier on them, I will send that in the email. You can check them out on LinkedIn. All of their credentials should be available there, as well as the Lawpath platform. And then we have a new guest joining us today, one of our newer lawyers over here at Lawpath, Alex Shreeve. Alex is an experienced commercial lawyer with a strong focus on contracts, employment, IP, and risk management. So anyone who is a veteran here as an attendee, please make Alex feel welcome. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us today, mate. Now, hopefully everyone here is rather initiated with Lawpath's webinars, but if you aren't, just a final check-in, I will be sending out an email at the end of this webinar to everyone who did attend. So don't worry again if you have to duck out early. We will have all the slides available. We will have a YouTube link for today's session. We will have all of our partner offers as well as our subscription offers too. And we have a very special end of year offer for everyone. We're
My audio cut out for a moment. Can you hear me? Perfect. We will have a offer for everyone, free virtual office and a free business compliance plan with any bundle purchased before the end of the year. So whether that's document library and legal advice, tax and legal, accounting and documents, whatever it may be, even if it's virtual office and a document library and you want a second virtual office, any bundle that you purchase, you will receive a free one as well as a free business compliance. Take it away.
Awesome. So we're going to start off the year with the year-end legal and financial must-dos, which we would recommend quite strongly that you guys do. So probably just want to skip to that. Slide. There we go. So look, we always recommend that you close the legal gaps before they turn to January problems. So the vast majority of disputes that I deal with are not bad actors. It's simply just oversights in contracts and in risk and in employment relationships. So we'd always recommend you review your contracts. So I know a lot of people tend to run things on a year basis. So you'll have a lot of terms that will expire in January. So let's renew those, see whether we want to renew what the new terms could be, as well as policies. So obviously businesses change over time. We see it a lot now with AI, where companies are going to start ingesting client data into their new AIs, as they're well entitled to do. But they should then be reaching out and updating the policies and making sure that people consent to this. So obviously a fair few of you are going to also be shutting down for the end of year. So we'd recommend just reviewing your employment obligations. Are you allowed to shut down? Are the employees aware? Are they allowed to take paid leave? Could they then take unpaid leave? These are questions that are better answered sooner rather than later, as well as things like identify unresolved disputes or risks. So we have clients come to us all the time where they've gotten a letter of demand or a cease and desist. Law firms can be quite tricky and they'll set it for the end of the year when they know that people are in a rush. Better to get that dealt with sooner rather than leaving it until January and coming back to find unwanted commercial actions against you. Better deal with it when it's less serious. As well as that, reviewing your IP ownership and protection. So I do a fair bit of work in the IP space, and sometimes people have unknowingly transferred their IP in a contract, or they haven't actually locked it down, gotten their trademarks sorted, design rights if you're developing web applications and you think it's unique. These should be dealt with because IP Australia, who manage all of this, shut down for Christmas. And it's best to have it on their desk for the start of the year rather than leaving it until when they're swamped early next year. Yeah, next slide, please. Cool. So what happens if you skip these legal checks? We've kind of gone through. So regulatory breaches and penalties are a huge one. So if you've had directors leave, if you've changed your office location, these things just need to be updated so that you don't risk any penalties. Increased dispute risks. If you guys are going off of handshake arrangements or email chains that are supplementing your contracts, this can always lead to disputes in understanding. We prefer to have the contract be the entire agreement. So we should just be doing our updates as we close out the year to avoid having a very, very stressful January. And again, same with directors' liability concerns. If you've resigned or you have a director that's resigned, have an updated ASIC. Those things can lead to unwarranted sort of liability concerns that you'd rather not deal with when you're relaxed from your holidays. So I'll hand over to Pradi now for the next bit.
Thank you, Alex. One of the main things that I want to discuss with you guys here today is in relation to the year-end sort of kind of non-negotiables. Because one of the main things that we encounter with a lot of our clients here is it's all about cash flow at the end of the at the end of the calendar year, rather, right? The main priority that we want to emphasize when we close the book half year through the financial year is that we want to ensure that any invoices, any payment is taken care of by the end of the year, right? Because you need to go through your age receivables. That means whatever money that you're expecting from your clients and whatever sort of kind of invoices that you need to pay by the end of the year. The reason why is because it all comes down to your payroll. That is pretty much what comes down to it. Majority of business owners that we take care of at Lawpath here prior to come with us, they tend to face some sort of kind of cash flow issues when it comes to their short-term liabilities. Because the BAS, when you, for the December 25 BAS, the main deadline date that you need to keep an eye on is for your December 25 BAS, which is due at the end of at the end of February. Okay, you got plenty of time for that, but one of the main things that a lot of people that miss out on is when it comes to their super obligations. Because one thing that they don't realize is that the superannuation obligations will be due on the 21st of January. Okay, so by taking care of all your invoices, all your payments by the end of the year, you'll be able to save up for that 3 weeks to meet your superannuation obligations. Because when it comes down to superannuations, the ATO has zero leeway when it comes down to it. If you late lodging your payment, even for 1 day, they will fine and apply the CGC or the superannuation guarantee charge right away, even on that first day as well. So it's crucial for you to meet these obligations on that 21st of the month. All right. More importantly, by doing this, you'll be able to forecast and budgets in terms of what you need to spend on early 2026 on that, right? And by doing this, you'll be able to stay ahead a few steps in terms of what you need to do in the new year, to not only to say compliance from the ATO perspective, but also to accelerate and grow your business as well down the road. That's that, all right? Moving on from here, yes, these are the things that I've touched on briefly when it comes to the previous slide. But yes, one of the main things that we want to do for a lot of our clients here is that we want to ensure is that we reconcile all your transactions to understand your financial positions, and most importantly, your cash flow around this time of the year, right? Because as soon as January hits, you've started off a whole new set of quarter, a whole new set of obligations, and therefore missing ATO deadlines is not an option when it comes down to it. A lot of people don't realize that the ATO is cracking down when it comes to missing ATO deadlines, when it comes to your buses, when it comes to your super. I've mentioned that briefly before. But more importantly, a lot of the company tax return from the previous year will due within the next quarter as well, around that February, around that May period, depending on your tax registrations, right? So therefore, planning ahead before your deadline is crucial, because not only that you will have any, but not only that you will get any penalties or any fines on that, but any incorrect lodgements, classifications when it comes to your super, when it comes to your buses, when it comes to your payroll, it can cause a significant amount of money to fix as well, right? So therefore, fixing issues prior to when it arises, it will be a lot more cost effective, and therefore you'll be able to not only stay compliant, but also make sure that your business started well in the new year ahead, because we've only got halfway through the financial year to ensure that not only we minimize your tax, but also we maximize your take-home pay as well at the end of the day. That's that. Over to you, Alex.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So look, we're going to go into why contracts need an end-of-year review. So I'm sure as many of you are aware, the costs of running a business and operating a business are going up massively. So you may be looking at increasing your prices. Of course, you're bound to offer the prices that you've given your contracts, particularly your services agreements. So you may want to refresh to make sure that it's currently viable for you, as well as that your delivery models stay the same. You may be looking to pursue efficiency. You may want to change the way in which you deliver your services to your clients. And it's important that we have that accurately reflected in your contracts so you can hit the ground running next year. As well as that, as we've already mentioned, you might get some new tools, some new platforms, or some processes. AI is being the main one that we're seeing, is that you may want to ingest your client's data and use it to help you with outputs, data modeling, any of those sorts of things. But if your clients aren't aware of that and they don't consent to that, it can cause massive issues down the road. And yeah, look, informal variations. I understand quite often it's best just to do it over email just for efficiency, to go, look, we're looking at offering this or expanding into this. And whilst that's completely fine, we want to get that documented as soon as possible, because it becomes a lot harder to work out what people have agreed to, at what price and under what terms, if we don't have one singular source of truth. And we're more than available to assist you with that. And then again, growth-related legal risks. I know many of my clients, and I see some of you here today, your businesses are growing quite rapidly. And it's important that your contracts do reflect that, so that we see an increase in complexity, an increase of protection for you guys as you move forward and start to form bigger relationships and more complex multi-year engagements. So it's important that we just do a general refresh of all of your contracts and ensure that they're up to scratch. And then if we just move over, you'll see quite a helpful little checklist of things. Yeah, so client services agreements, we've mentioned, huge. So including scopes of work and importantly, master services agreements. So where you're going to be providing these multi-year engagements, you kind of just want to make sure that moving forward, it reflects your position and the services that you want to offer. Pricing schedules, as you know, you're probably going to want to raise your prices at some point. It's important that we get that documented. And just onboarding for efficiency. So onboarding new clients into your systems or onboarding new employees as you grow and you need to hire more people. Best to kind of think these things out in advance rather than people going, oh, I hadn't seen that before, or I didn't know that I was meant to be able to do that. Supplier contracts, some of them will be expiring in January. Some obviously will run to the end of financial year or dates in between. It's important that we kind of look at that. You may want to start negotiating more favorable terms. You may find a better supplier and want to terminate. So before we go ahead with that, it's good often to get the agreements checked out and make sure that everything's in place moving forward. And same with employees around this time of year. So many of your employees will be going on stand down. It's important that we can check whether we can do that and under what terms, whether they have the leave available to take, and whether you can make them take paid leave, or if they want to operate for unpaid leave, if they're able to do that, or go into negative. So for newer employees like myself at Lawpath, we're lucky enough that we're able to go into negative leave to cover the shutdown period. So you want to check whether your employees are able to do that under their contracts, under the agreements that you have in place. And another one's privacy law. So for those of you that are operating web-based businesses, the EU's been cracking down on how they deal with privacy law for their citizens, where your services are able to be accessed. And sometimes the privacy agreements just don't reflect that. Obviously, that's a humongous risk, big thing. So we kind of just want to get that checked out. And it's usually a very, very simple fix. And your confidentiality agreements. If you've got things in place for jobs that you're scoping, they might be coming to an end. We kind of want to check whether it's now time to put a more serious agreement in place, whether it's an employment agreement, a consulting agreement, training, master services, and how we can keep protecting your confidential information, which ultimately is what gives you the edge in trading. So yeah, then I'll hand over to, policy refresh. So yeah, as we've sort of gone through already, privacy policies, HR, and WH&S procedures. Obviously, WH&S evolve constantly year on and are quite reactive to workplace situations that happen. So it's often best to set a little calendar reminder. Every quarter, I find quite often best, and what I advise my clients, just to be checking in and making sure that it's all still accurate and works. And then cybersecurity. Unfortunately, a lot of scammers and bad actors do target businesses over the shutdown, as they know that it's going to be harder to respond. So it's good to make sure that you've got all that in place, that you know what would happen if something were to occur, who would deal with it, and to lock down, make sure you're not using the same passwords across multiple different logons, make sure that all of your information is safe. And I'll now hand over to Pradi for the next.
Thank you. Thank you, Alex. One of the things I want to focus on following Alex's points earlier is about what are the financial impacts in relation to all the risks that Alex mentioned earlier, right? The main sort of kind of cases that we go through here is that with unclear scope within your contract, there are some risk of a missing revenue from the business as well on that. And especially for those clients that recently started off the business, we need to ensure that we minimize this risk moving forward so that we can accelerate the growth for your business as well moving forward. Right. When it comes to weak termination clause, when it comes to another director or shareholder they work with, and employee that you don't have a set of agreement that is locked in. Yeah, there are going to be some significant costs, especially when you need to have this sort of kind of cases that you need to take care of at the start, right? And when it comes to missing IP clauses, the ownership disputes can be significant, especially if you deal with multiple directors or shareholders as part of your business on that. Right, updated pricings and auto renewal clauses can relate to the revenue leakage that I've mentioned to you before, because by not updating your pricing, not only that you will lose out to your competitors, but more importantly, you would become less profitable based on the margin that you lose. And with any renewal clauses for those clients who deal with a subscription-based sort of kind of business, yes, it's crucial for you to basically account for any unexpected costs as part of your budget that we've mentioned before, to ensure that you lock in these expenses and minimize your expenses moving forward. Following on from that, poor payment terms will be the main determinant factors when it comes to your cash flow, right? Majority of our clients who recently set up their business, they do not set a payment terms within their invoice. Now, the issue with this is that not only that you'll be able to have a leverage in collecting your cash down the road, but more importantly, you would lose out and have less control when it comes to your cash flow. So therefore, the majority of payment terms, depending on what kind of industry you're in, we wouldn't advise our clients to put a payment terms more than 30 days, basically, on that, right? Because by setting up a payment terms upfront, you would set up an expectations with your clients that you need to be paid at a certain period of time. And by doing so, you'll be able to charge any sort of kind of late payment fees to recoup the effort and the time that you need to collect that cash that you're supposed to receive within that period of time. Okay. Any unpaid additional work can be detrimental when it comes to accelerating your growth for your business. And most importantly, you need to cap your liabilities for every single aspect of your business. Because when you have an exposure to a high risk and you have no insurance to cover this risk, the implications can be significant. When it comes to the profitability, but more importantly, when it comes to growing your business as well moving forward. Moving on from here will be Alex's expertise that we will need from the next slides.
Really, thank you, Pradi. So look, yeah, the slide's quite correct. Employee issues do create the fastest legal risks to your businesses, particularly around this time of year. So you want to confirm that all your employees are classified correctly. People move laterally throughout the business, and they might then have a different award rate that they then need to be paid. So it's important that we just confirm these things, confirm that payment's correct, particularly if you're paying at award rate, and that they're receiving all the benefits that they're entitled to, just so we don't have unnecessary claims moving forward. Leave entitlements, you just want to review all of your balances. That's a reasonably simple thing to make sure that people aren't claiming leave that they can't take. And that everything's then in place for your shutdowns, or just more generally, people do like to take leave at this time of year, even if there's no shutdown in effect. And then, check whether the agreement allows shutdowns, how much notice you're required to give. So quite often when people onboard, I know this is how I advise, you should let people know when they sign up to the business and go, hey, we will be shutting down between this date and this date. It happens every year, just so they're notified, and you then don't have to worry about it. It doesn't get to December, you've been busy, you've had that end of year rush, and you've forgotten then to send out the notifications as you'd agreed to. And then, employee contract alignment. So as we said before, make sure that everything reflects the standards that your employees are hired to, whether that's pay, whether that's leave, entitlements, working from home, flexible work. These are things we just really want to be checking for as soon as possible before they become an issue. And then if we move forward, so that's, again, common legal mistakes that we see that lead to unnecessary disputes are assuming that shutdowns are automatic. Some awards don't allow for them. I know particularly in the government sector, they're quite strict about it. Wouldn't affect you guys, but in the office sector, they often are allowed, but there are caveats and things that need to be done. Non-compliant leave conductions. So where we've seen people claim paid leave for the Christmas break, a lot of employees then look for new work in the new year, and all of a sudden they leave owing you money, which isn't something that anyone wants. So those are the things you kind of need to be on top of, and making sure that there are processes, procedures, and obligations in place to minimize those risks. And then, if we go on to the next slide, I'll hand over to Pradi.
Thank you, Alex. One of the main things that we want to focus on when it comes to the common sort of kind of checks that we want to finalize before we close the books and head to our break over Christmas. It's all about how we maintain your payroll and leave process in place, right? Following on a few of the things that Alex mentioned before, it's crucial for you to actually reconcile your leave balances when it comes to annual leave, right? Because one of the main things that you need to deal with, especially if your business have multiple employees within this break, is you need to ensure that the annual leave balance is reconciled and processed prior to the last pay run of the year. That is the main important thing right here. Because if you have any if you have any mismatch when it comes to your payroll and the contracts, more importantly, the consequence can be significant. Because if you haven't accounted for any long service leave balance, any unusually high balance, and if that particular staff will leave your business, there are a significant amount of costs that you need to catch up on as well previously on that. Right. It's also crucial that you need to account for the classifications of each and every employee, whether they were full-time, part-time, or casual, because this will actually affect that leave balance calculations as well on that. And time again, we want to emphasize when it comes to superannuations, okay? Because superannuations is the only deadline that you will need to get on top of it 100% at the time. Reason why is because, yes, I've mentioned previously, not only that the ATO have zero leeway when it comes down to it, but superannuations is most of the time is one thing that a lot of our clients miss out on as well before they actually come to us. Once you've got your superannuations and your STP or your single touch payroll, reporting locked in, right? You'll be able to cross-check the data that you have within your accounting software, whether you have Xero, MyUp, QuickBooks, whatever that might be, and cross-reference that to whatever the ATO has within your single touch payroll portal. Because by doing this, not only that you'll be able to calculate the dollar value of leave of the balances that you need to close up the year, but more importantly, you will be able to prepare the cash flow in order for you to meet your superannuation obligations by the 21st of January, right? And most importantly, is there any planned terminations or shutdown periods within this time of the year? You will need to ensure to identify this upfront to put aside any costs for any leave balance that has been accrued and need to be paid as part of your cash flow calculation as well on that. Moving on from here, what are the things that you need to implement before you actually go on your break? Ensure that you process your last pay run by closing your pay cycle in December. Whether you process your pay run weekly, fortnightly, or monthly, right? Please ensure that everything is taken care of before you close. Before you close for the break. Majority of our clients who has a monthly payroll, those who process their payroll towards the end of the month, they usually has what we call a one-off payroll that got processed within that last few days or the last week when the office are still open. That is the main thing, right? Secondly, ensure you prepare for the PAYG amounts the PAYG tax withheld as well as the super. PAYG will be included as part of your BAS at the end of February, but when it comes to super, yes, you will need to prepare that by the end of January. That's that. Time and time again, once you've closed the pay cycle, once you prepare the your cash flow, please ensure that you check and validate your reporting data from whatever payroll information that you have in your accounting software, and cross-reference that to the single touch payroll data within your ATO portal. Because by doing this, come January, once you've got everything accounted for, once you've got everything prepared, you'll be able to start off fresh in the new year and take on the challenges and the opportunities that you have for your business come in January, so that you'll be able to proactively manage and grow your business even further throughout the half year of the financial years up until June on that. Over to you, Alex.
Thank you very much. So we're going to briefly cover your insurance risks and operational checklists. So Of course, legal risk increases when oversight drops during shutdowns. So the more decision makers are on leave, the more people that actually understand what's going on, that are tuned into all the different contracts and the client relationships, the more chances there are to go wrong. So biggest one for us is delivery timelines that we see time and time again. Obviously, businesses shut down over Christmas, but some people still expect work to be done. If the time frame isn't in business days, but it's just a pure 1 month, and that happens to fall on December 29th, even if no one's there to address it, that can then lead to disputes. Insurance coverage gaps are another big one. As your businesses grow, you're probably going to need more insurance, whether it's more cyber insurance, whether it's public liability, particularly for those of you in the consulting sector. We would just need to be updating your policies and making sure that what you're claiming and what you're paying for actually matches the work that you're doing. And again, thinking about delegation. So I know many businesses will keep a skeleton crew on over the holidays to address urgent matters, payroll issues, those sorts of things. It's important that people understand who can make the decisions. If something goes wrong with a client, who's then there to address it? If something happens with a contract, how can it be resolved? Can people then be contacted? Particularly now with the laws in place around contacting employees in off periods, it's really important that these expectations are set and managed before the need arises. And if we go over to the next slide, a bit more of a look at insurance. Yep. So again, data access and risks. So who's going to be accessing it? Is everything still secure? And data breaches do unfortunately occur around this time of year. So it's really important to have those policies and those procedures in place. And as we've already mentioned, disputes, just making sure that you know what the timelines are. Generally, you've had a law firm, had one of us reach out to them and go, look, get back to you at this point in time. Just making sure that you're keeping open communication and closing things out as soon as you're able. Yep. Bit of an overview of what insurances you would need in place. So public liability, huge for consultants. So ensure that the cover is active, it hasn't lapsed, hasn't been cancelled, and that the limits are sufficient to cover the work that you're doing. So if any issues arise, you're not paying out of pocket, but you have your insurance premiums in place and that they can cover it. Professional indemnity reflects your current services and your current risk. Some of you will be operating in higher risk spaces, some of you in lower risk spaces, and it's important to check in with your insurer to make sure that you have that coverage in place. Same with cyber and same with workers' compensation. All of these things just need to be reviewed periodically to make sure they cover what you're needing them to cover. If we go across, we'll see your operational risk areas. So your basic ones for the holidays are, as we've said, IT access, making sure you know who's accessing your IT, who's responding to data breaches, who's checking for unauthorized access, your delegations in decision-making, and making sure that all of your suppliers' contracts are in place and that they're up to date, that you're not going to have a failure over the break, that services won't be interrupted, or any disputes missed by payments not occurring on time, particularly if your payroll teams have gone home, just making sure that everything's set up and scheduled so that you don't run into any issues with your suppliers that will then follow you into the new year. And then, the responsibility matrix. Again, the only thing that's really needs to be in place is just set approval limits for spending and temporary controls. The rest of the things, obviously, we've covered. But that's just very, very important. Again, it's all about making sure that decision-making doesn't stop just because people are on leave, that you have that continuity of business. And with that, I will hand over to Pradi.
Thanks. So it all comes down to the dates that you need to look out for right here, right? Right, yes. So one of the main things focus on from the ATO perspective, it's all about your lodgements, right? Now, there are two lodgements that you need to keep an eye on. If your business lodged the quarterly BAS or the quarterly business activity statements, you need to ensure that you need to lodge it by the 28th of February, okay? However, if you have your monthly IIS or the installment activity statements, yes, they need to be ready and lodged by the 28th of January, similar to what your superannuation lodgement as well, like I mentioned to you before. Okay, so from the BAS's and the IS perspective, yes, this is something that you'll be able to manage through your accounting software, similar with your super payment schedule as well on that. Okay. So with the super payments, the quarterly payment will always be due about 4 weeks after the quarter end. Okay, so for the December 25 quarter, the payment will be due by the 28th of January. Okay. One of the main things that you want to ensure that you do time and time again is that you need to reconcile your payroll, ensure that your records always reconcile with the SAP data. So therefore, whatever that you paid, whatever that you actually processed by the lodgement dates will be reflected and based on the ATO expectation as well. And we've already discussed this time and time again. It's all about your cash flow when it comes down to it. Okay, forecasting the next quarter and the following quarter after that started with how you actually prepare, how you actually close your books by the end of the calendar year, so that you'll be able to account for your main sort of kind of obligations from the ATO perspective, but also take on any other challenges that external factors may throw your business from the day-to-day sort of kind of operational risks of depending on your of your industrial level of risk, like Alex mentioned before. Over to you, Alex.
Thank you very much. So we've already gone over, but the legal and regulatory compliance checks. So confirming that everything's correct with ASIC by the 31st of December. They, as Pradi has mentioned multiple times, ASIC are very, very particular when they want things lodged by. So including who your directors are, if any directors have resigned, what your addresses are, share structure, just to avoid those late notifications in January. You want to have as smooth a start to the year as possible. Check renewal dates on your business names as well. You don't want to lose out on your business name. That would be quite painful. So just ensuring that this is done, particularly if they're due in January or Feb, just kind of getting a bit ahead of the curve, and your licenses and records. Really, all it comes down to is making sure that you can start the year as you ended, and that everything's in place that allows you to do that. And if we go over, we can kind of see what compliance risks tend to catch people out, which is really just what we've said. So it's the missed renewal deadlines, outdated company details, poor record keeping, which lawyers and accountants, we are more than happy to help you with that. And then unclear responsibility, particularly for your compliance tasks. Someone should always be assigned to checking in, to making sure your policies are up to date, whether that's your privacy, WH&S, employees, leave obligations, and making sure they know that and that that's part of their calendar. And then the auto renewals that just are overlooked, whether you actually need these subscriptions, whether it reflects how you currently work. Those are just the things that you would want to be looking out for, and making sure that you're not incurring any unnecessary expenses. And with that, I will hand back over to Pradi.
Thanks again, Alex. So what are the takeaways that you want to look out for when we actually close your books by the end of the calendar year, right? One of the main things that we want to emphasize for a lot of our clients here is that the legal, the financials, the operational risk of the business tie all together. Because when you have small gaps when it comes to missed details in your contract, this will actually can accumulate to become a bigger problems down the road. So by tackling your problems early, by being proactive, you'll be able to turn your problems into opportunities and accelerate your business moving forward as well on that, right? Time and time again, documentations is one of the main things that you need to keep an eye on as well on this. Having everything in email, having everything in writing, make sure that your records are filed properly. Everything is everything's what digitalized these days, right? So therefore, by having your record keeping from the legal, the accounting, and the financial side of things will help you understand how your business are going so far this year. And more importantly, you'll be able to make timely decisions as well and pivoting based on your current situation as well on that, right? Because with the strong finish that you create towards the end of this calendar year, you would have a lot less stress that you do deal with when you are starting up the new year. So therefore, it will by taking care by taking care of all the things that we raised during this presentation today, you will have a strong start for the new year, so that you'll be able to get the business up and running, and more importantly, maximize your take-home pay as well at the end of the day. And therefore, if you are unsure or if you don't know what you don't know, this is where we would come in, right? Because at Lawpath, not only that we can help you with the legal, the accounting, and the compliance side of things, we would have a whole team that dedicated with a fixed fee subscription pricing moving forward, so that you can actually close the year with confidence, and you do have that peace of mind that everything's done correctly moving forward. And therefore, without further ado, I will pass it back to Joel to close off this presentation today.
Thank you so much, Pradi, and thank you, Alex, as well. Solid session. I was packed with some decent value. Very, very difficult to try to absorb any kind of information at this time of year. We all know we're seconds away from kind of packing things up and just next year problem, let's leave it. There are also, on the other hand, a lot of people who are working through the Christmas period, because entrepreneurs, small businesses, you guys don't rest. So hopefully that was very insightful and eye-opening for you guys. Now, if your contracts, policies, or payroll are outdated, they could cost you big in January, as mentioned. Legal risks like non-compliance with ASIC, unfair employment terms, or expired licenses can lead to fines or disputes, as mentioned. And financial risks like missed super, PAYG, or tax lodgements can trigger penalties and cash flow chaos. And holiday periods amplify all these, especially with reduced staffing and oversight, as mentioned. So here's a real story of one of our clients. A digital agency came to us last December thinking everything was fine. Their contracts hadn't been updated in 2 years. They were missing IP protection for their creative work, and they hadn't forecasted their January super and tax payments. The result for them, unfortunately, was $8,000 in unclaimable deductions, risk of a client contract dispute, and 3 weeks of scrambling to fix it all in January. When they came to us and they got on the essentials plan, the legal, accounting, and tax, our full bundle, we have since then corrected any kind of errors that would likely result in something similar to this in 2025 December. So if you guys go onto our platform, Lawpath's platform, we have a ton of blogs and customer success stories where we've proven that we can save you. If not essentially save you, we can avenge you, or at least pull you out of the fire before you get scorched. We like to, just really focus on the macro when it comes to people and what people require and need. Over here at Lawpath, it's very much tailoring. A lot of people might feel like their business is too small, or they might feel like their industry is a bit too niche. But guys, 11 years, 600,000 businesses, I'd likely say, without sounding insulting, you're not special. You aren't special. And that's okay, because it means you can get all the support you need at a touch of a button. So if you feel like maybe you're just a bit unsure, there might be some gray areas, it's best to at least speak to a professional before resting on your laurels. So at the end of today's session, when I send out the email, I will pull a link in the email for a free legal and accounting consult. If you feel unsure about anything, my suggestion is just click on that. It's a calendar link, and just pick yourself a time and date. hopefully we should be able to help you prevent any landmine catastrophes. Now, with what we provide over here at Lawpath, first and foremost, we have our Essentials plan, very popular for a lot of lawyers and accountants and also new businesses within Australia. It's called the Essentials plan for a reason. You can't conduct business without having contracts in place. And if you are doing that, then may God help you. Our Essentials plan is $468 per year. It gives you access to over 500 plus contracts, including agreements, NDAs, employment contracts, privacy policies, debt recovery, anything you really need, trusts, etc. We have an AI-powered contract review, drafter, and e-signature feature as well. So in a perfect world, you would get your document library, you would start to build out a document, you would go to the lawyer would give you advice on what you need to do to implement into the document. You'd take those notes, come back, punch those notes into the AI. The AI would give you a clause. You would copy and paste that into the document, have the lawyer review it again. They give you the green light. You've got a legally binding document, among other things. You send the document out to a client, both internal, external, or someone within the business, and they can sign it digitally so you don't have to waste a poor innocent tree's flesh. And then we also have workflows, storage, and asset tools as well in the Essentials plan. So if you are dealing with a lot of employment, or if you have some clients and you wanted to make sure that you're keeping all their data, contracts, employment, invoices, disputes, whatever it may be, we have our workflow system as well. Everything can be done on the platform. You don't have to go anywhere, print anything out, file anything else away. It's all there available for you whenever you need it. Legal advice plan, $1,668 per year. Unlimited 30-minute legal consultations with one of our senior lawyers, like Alex, for example. You can choose Alex to be your on-hand lawyer whenever you so wish. As you can see, Alex is very friendly, very easy to communicate with, and very attentive as well. So HR, privacy policies, etc., IP, contracts, and employment law, all supported on the legal advice plan, among so many other things. You have to imagine that we have over 550 documents. So obviously our legal team have to be across that much information. So you are in good hands. Then we have our accounting advice plan, same price as the legal, $1,668. That's where you'd be paired up with someone like Pradi. You can choose to have Pradi as your nominated accountant. They will assist you with your bookkeeping, your payroll, your invoicing. They'll get you set up on Xero, MyOb, whatever accounting software you so choose. They'll help you understand cash flow, budgeting, and give you guidance on where your business is at the moment and where it likely can go. So really, really hands-on, consistently available for you. So many people have little minor questions. That's why you guys come to these webinars. You might sit through a whole hour-long webinar and just have 2 questions that you wish answered, but you don't want to pay full price for an accountant to respond for you. Beautiful thing about the legal and accounting plans is, as I've mentioned to so many clients, you don't always have to have something super major, something scary or intense to bring to a call. Sometimes you can just hop on a 30-minute call and have a general chat about future plans, or something was just, I might just ask my lawyer or accountant about that. And then that obviously that can snowball into a more in-depth conversation, which is really cool. And then finally, we have our tax plan, which is $3,000 per year. On the tax plan, we will have all of your BAS statements done, your annual tax return, financial statements, tax review. Your dedicated tax agent will basically be on hand via email and communication to give you, I guess, a complete overview of how you're doing, where you're going, and they can obviously offer you some really solid advice on tax incentives and among other things. GST, PAYG, should you be doing this? Should you be claiming this? Can you deduct this, etc., etc.? All available for you. And then we also have our bundles. So every plan I've just mentioned, you can mix and match. You can splice them together. We have our bundle and save, where you're usually getting 40% off. So you're taking 2 plans and reducing it by 40. If you wanted the be all and end all, the complete compliance package, documents, legal, accounting, and tax, that is $5,500 per year, completely tax deductible, and you will get instant access immediately. And as I mentioned as well, we have an offer. Anyone who signs up for any type of bundle, whether it's the full or whatever you splice together, you will have access to either a free VO or a free business compliance plan with that purchase as well. Excellent. That is everything from me, guys. If anyone wishes to, I guess, get a little bit more information on our plans, go ahead and throw yes in the chat. I would be more than happy to have a chat with you today or tomorrow or anytime next week as well, which I will be available. And we can have a look at what your business has got going on. And if you feel like you're moving into 2026 with a bit of unsurety, naturally, we can help you identify that and see if our plans will assist you. If there are no questions, here we go. Phil Greer. Hi, can you display all these offers on screen, please? Phil, what I'll do is I'll send you an email with an overview of all the offers, and you can just mix and match and get an idea. But what you see here, guys, is the essential offer. Any bundle plan, free VO or business compliance plan. So business compliance, for those who don't know, is sometimes you'll get late reminders from ASIC, or maybe there'll be changes that you're not privy to. You're so busy. I get a lot of clients saying their ASIC emails are going to spam, and then eventually they're getting late reminders that they're in arrest. So what we provide in the business compliance plan is basically your overwatch. We're going to be the bird on your shoulder who's whispering in your ear, telling you, hey, look, you've got a late fee. This is what's happening. Change the legislation. New rule in ASIC. This is everything you need to know. So very helpful for those, especially those registering companies with us. They get that as well. Guys, if there's no questions, we will wrap it up. We've got 3 minutes left. So any last minute questions, put it in the Q&A, put it in the chat. We'll get our two specialists here to answer those for you.